Rueben Bain is one of the top draft prospects in this upcoming NFL class, and he recently had a huge news story break that could absolutely crush him when it comes to his stock. Now, before I continue about what that story is, I do want to give you some background on Rueben Bain as a player. Now, he is projected to be a top 10 draft pick. He's an edge rusher out of Miami. He had an unbelievable season. I mean, the guy was dominant across the board. He had a great combine. The only thing that dropped his draft stock in the past, 3 months was that he was measured in with shorter arms than usual, and we saw what happened with Will Campbell in the Super Bowl when he had shorter arms at left tackle, and that ended up being a huge factor. So there is concern there that Bain's short arms will impact him when he reaches the next level. I personally don't think so. I think maybe he went from being a top 5 draft pick to a top 10 pick with that, though it really doesn't change much. He's still going to be a top 10 pick, and a team inside the top 5 can still easily snag him. I don't think that short arm story is really going to hinder him much at all, if I'm being honest. However, this news story is definitely going to. So I recently saw this article. I have it pulled up here. I'm going to read some excerpts from it just to give you a good idea of what's going on here. So in 2024, right? We're in 2026 now. In 2024, Rueben Bain was reportedly involved in a car accident that proved to be fatal for one of the victims involved. Bain was reportedly cited for careless driving in Miami in 2024, and a passenger in this crash, who is a 22-year-old student, was placed into a coma and then reportedly died 3 months later. Now, NFL teams have just been made aware of this story and are currently investigating it themselves, and this is a massive break for literally everyone across the league. Anybody who is interested in Rueben Bain will now be thinking twice considering something like this. It's just one of those massive stories that you don't often hear come out this close to the NFL draft, especially for a top prospect. There's some more details here that I'm going to read off here. Rueben Bain was a sophomore at the University of Miami at the time of this accident. He was driving on Interstate 95 in Miami at 4 a.m. on March 17th, 2024, when his vehicle struck another car before swerving into concrete barriers on both sides of the highway, according to police crash records reviewed by the Reed Optional. One of 4 passengers in Rueben Bain's car, Destiny Betts, a 22-year-old college student from Georgia who was visiting Miami for spring break, suffered incapacitating injuries and was rushed to the Ryder Trauma Center from the scene. She never regained consciousness and died on June 13th, 2024, after spending almost 3 months in a coma. Now, another passenger in the car was also injured, but they survived, and Bain was initially cited for careless driving as a result of his actions, but the charge ended up getting dropped a few months later, which, although his charge was dropped before the other passenger in the car passed away, so maybe that impacted it. I don't really know. According to multiple reports, teams have been privy to Bain's involvement in the crash for some time, and most teams have been satisfied with his explanation pertaining to the wreck. However, there's a specific quote here that I want to talk about because it didn't really make sense to me when I saw it pop up. This is coming from an anonymous league source. It says, "It feels like it could be Laramie Tunsil all over again. It doesn't feel like Bain has been transparent with us." And there's 2 things I want to mention here. First of all, it feels like it could be Laramie Tunsil all over again. I think we are drastically exaggerating what happened with Tunsil before the draft. Yes, that video tanked his stock, but all that guy did was rip a bong before the draft. That is not that bad. I'm sure a lot of other NFL players, especially guys coming into the league, have done that before. I don't think that's bad at all. It's just that one was made public at a bad time. A car accident where somebody dies is that's a lot more significant. And secondly, the other part of the quote is, "It doesn't feel like Bain has been transparent with us." Isn't that kind of your fault as an NFL team? I'm sorry. I think 99% of people in league staffs should be aware of this type of incident when you're going to draft someone. Everybody involved in an organization who is talking to these prospects and looking into them and watching film, they should know that this happened. This was clearly public information. It's a little shocking that this wasn't known to whoever this source is, but saying that it doesn't feel like he's been transparent with us is, I don't really know. I think that's a little ridiculous. I think that's kind of your fault. Why would you sit down in an interview and just start pouring out all the worst things you've ever done? I don't think anyone does that. And the charges were dropped, so I mean, why would he even bring that up? In his mind, he wants to put it behind him and play football. This is really on whoever this is, this one individual league source. That's a stupid quote. Saying that it's his fault he's not been transparent. That is your fault, dude. That's probably your job. Another quote here says, "We are concerned about multiple incidents. We are waiting for the other shoe." And I don't know, that could just be just total nerves from what happened before, and that we have no idea if he's even involved in multiple accidents. I think it's just the one, honestly. I expecting another accident, like another car crash to pop up for Bane out of nowhere, like he's just in Fast and Furious. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Now, it should also be mentioned here, in case you're upset about what's going on here and think that he should fall as a result of this and don't want him to get away with it, the parents or the family of the 22-year-old Destiny Betts, who unfortunately passed away in this accident, actually backed Bane. They said, "We received your request regarding a potential article about our daughter. As her family, we remain deeply committed to honoring her memory in a meaningful and appropriate way. Destiny's passing was the result of a tragic accident that occurred several years ago. While the loss remains incredibly painful for our family, we have worked hard to find peace and move forward. At this time, we are not seeking public attention surrounding this tragedy and respectfully request that our family's privacy be honored. We also wish Mr. Bane the best as he continues his life and career." So I don't think this family was actually looking to tear down Bane after the accident. It seems like they are totally understanding of what happened and have made peace with what seems to be just a genuine accident. And going back to that guy who said they're waiting for the other shoe to drop, apparently it already has. A report from Trey Wallace here says projected top 10 NFL draft prospect Rueben Bain was cited for careless driving in 2024 crash that involved a passenger's death. And then underneath it, this is the big part, also, Bain was cited a second time for careless driving in October 2025 in an incident that was also later dismissed. So that's the second careless driving thing that has happened to Rueben Bain. It was both over like a 1.5 year span from March in 2024 to October 2025, and both of them ended up getting dismissed. I will say that's a little concerning that it's happened multiple times, and it gives more credit to the person saying that they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't know, though. You think you'd learn after the first one, and then you get a second one. I don't know if the second one's as true or not, but if it is, I mean, come on, man. Someone died the first time, and you did it again? I think looking at this situation overall, his draft stock has definitely taken a hit. The one thing I didn't really like, and I talked about this like a few minutes ago, is, that one league source saying it doesn't feel like he's been transparent with us, because if he falls in the NFL draft because teams feel like he wasn't transparent, I think that's kind of on you. Like, that's kind of on the fault of these teams. Like, who is doing background checks on them? I think this is information that would be made public even though they've been dismissed. I don't think it would be hard for an NFL team to gain access to these types of records, especially for a guy that they're about to pay millions of dollars. However, I will say that this is a little concerning, and a lot of teams inside the top 5 will probably not take him. I think this guarantees Bane probably to be taken in the 5 to 15 range. I don't think he goes in the top 5 anymore, because why would you take such a big risk top 5 for a guy that has had 2 careless driving incidents, including one that has killed somebody, and on top of that, he does have shorter arms, which was a concern way ahead of time. And a lot of you might be comparing this situation to Jalen Carter, and Jalen Carter was still taken very early on, but his driving incident had him fall to number 8 overall. So he still didn't go top 5 with his incident, and I think it's going to be very similar here. We're going to see a guy like Rueben Bain probably drop out of the top 5, and it'll probably be around that 8, 9, or 10 range where Bain gets picked up to a better team that is willing to take the risk on that, such as the Saints, Chiefs, or Bengals. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of this entire situation, because this is a bomb to drop. Literally, 10 days. We're 10 days away as of the time recording this from the NFL draft. So talk about a huge news break here at the last second. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit that like button for more content like this, and I will see all of you guys in the next one.